Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into an incredibly powerful concept from Darius Farrow's book, Think Straight, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. Look, if you've ever felt like your brain has about 50 tabs open, music is blasting from one of them, and you have absolutely no idea where it's coming from, trust me, you are not alone. Mental clutter is something we all deal with. We're exhausted, we're constantly overthinking, and we're just desperately looking for a way to get control back. Farrow's whole premise here is simple, but it is a total game changer. If you can change your thoughts, you can absolutely change your life.
Section 1. Chaos in the Mind. Let's talk about our overworked brains. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this dark, tangled scribble. It's actually hand-drawn by the author, and it perfectly captures pure mental chaos. I mean, that right there is exactly what the inside of an uncontrolled mind looks like, isn't it? It's just this massive mush of useless, confusing, stressful thoughts spinning endlessly. You know the feeling. Worrying about something you said 3 years ago, stressing over how someone interpreted a totally normal email, or just freaking out about a future that hasn't even happened yet.
So looking at all that chaos naturally begs the question, where is the pause button? How do we actually stop it? Well, Darius Farrow shares a story about this that is just so relatable. He was moving to London, he had everything planned perfectly, his entire life packed up in an SUV, and then literally the day before he was supposed to move in, his landlady completely canceled on him. No apartment. He ended up sitting in his parents' hotel room, absolutely panicking, completely lost in this dramatic spiral of negative thoughts. He was spending so much time stuck in his own head, stressing out, that he totally lost sight of reality. His mind was just spinning out of control.
Section 2. The power to choose. Let's look at controlling our thoughts.
You see, that agonizing mental spiral is exactly what forces us to search for a better way, a real philosophical breakthrough. And honestly, this breakthrough goes all the way back to 1870, courtesy of a psychologist named William James. Now, James himself actually struggled with severe depression and panic attacks, and for a long time he believed his mind was entirely out of his control. But then he had this massive realization. He realized that while we can't stop thoughts from just randomly popping up into our consciousness, because they will just appear, we absolutely possess the free will to choose which ones we actually focus on. We can consciously decide to sustain a specific thought. We hold the power to choose where our mental energy goes.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact shift. Notice the amazing transformation here. We go from that tangled, anxious mess of a scribble on the left to this single, straight line on the right. That straight line, that represents one focused thought serving a useful purpose. Going back to Farrow's London apartment panic, he eventually realized his stressing was completely useless. It wasn't getting him a place to live. So he consciously chose a straight, purposeful thought. Look for a solution. And guess what? Within a week of straight thinking, he booked a temporary Airbnb and eventually got the apartment anyway. The panic was literally all for nothing.
This brings us to the core philosophy here, which is called pragmatism. Pragmatism is basically just a method of thinking that looks away from abstract principles and focuses strictly on consequences, facts, and what actually works. It's a realization that our thoughts aren't just random background noise, they are actually tools. And just like any tool in a toolbox, we've got to filter them based on what genuinely serves a useful purpose in our day-to-day reality.
Section 3. Filtering useless thoughts. How we ease that cognitive load.
Okay, so how do we actually do this in our daily lives? Well, we have to start drawing a really hard line between useful and useless thoughts. Useful thoughts are highly practical. They're things like actively solving an immediate problem or acquiring knowledge that improves your career or your relationships. Useless thoughts? Unfortunately, that's about 99% of the rest of the noise in our heads. Agonizing over the past, worrying about what your boss might be thinking, or fantasizing about a future you just can't predict. If a thought doesn't serve a practical, immediate purpose, it's useless. Toss it.
To really put this into perspective, take a look at this. Notice how the vast majority of life falls into that massive gray area labeled outside your control. And yet, ironically, that is exactly where we spend most of our mental energy. It's crazy when you think about it. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that we have to actively urge ourselves to stop doing that. We need to focus our energy strictly on that tiny little circle at the bottom, inside your control. That's your actions, your words, your intentions. That's it.
On top of our own internal thoughts, we also have to survive the crushing weight of modern information. I mean, the world is constantly throwing endless data at us every single second. To think straight, you literally have to filter out that noise. When you're consuming information or making a choice, ask yourself, will the outcome of this actually change the way I live? If it doesn't practically impact your daily habits, just filter it out. Let it go. You don't need it.
Section 4. Facts over assumptions. How we avoid deceiving ourselves.
As we get better at filtering our thoughts, we also have to confront a pretty uncomfortable truth. Our own minds deceive us, constantly. So we have to draw another hard line. This time, it's between making assumptions based on cliches, wild guesses, or just other people's opinions, versus making decisions based on concrete research, facts, and tested statistics. You know how it goes. We assume a friend is mad at us if they don't text back right away, or we assume a business idea is going to be a massive hit just because we personally like it. We're highly illogical beings.
Notice how naturally we tend to live in that left circle of assumptions. We are constantly scanning the world, just searching for clues to prove what we already believe, instead of neutrally observing reality over in the right circle of facts. In science, these are called cognitive biases. We heavily suffer from things like confirmation bias, which completely skews our ability to see the world as it actually is.
Okay, let's dive into this, because William James reminds us that to be truly practical, we absolutely must cling to concreteness. We have to completely discard our assumptions. When you're making decisions, especially the big, life-altering ones, you must base your choices entirely on concrete facts. You've got to observe the truth that's right in front of you and actively avoid getting swayed by other people's ill-informed opinions. Take your time, don't make snap emotional choices, and really look at the actual data.
Section 5. Rules for Practical Living. Tackling Everyday Stressors.
So, let's look at how straight thinking actually applies to our daily stressors, especially one of the biggest ones out there, finances. Notice these handwritten, highly practical money rules from the author. Just putting these down on paper visually anchors the whole concept of eliminating financial worry. The idea is to create strict, pragmatic boundaries. That way, you don't have to waste your precious cognitive energy stressing out about money every single day. And these rules are wonderfully straightforward. Number 1, don't buy crap you don't need just to impress other people. 2, save at least 10% of your income every single month. 3, stay out of debt. 4, invest your money in things that yield a return. And hey, that could be the stock market, or it could simply be buying a high-quality laptop that helps you do your job faster. And finally, don't be stingy. Recognize that money is a replaceable resource. Once you automate these rules and build up a solid 6-month safety net, you can completely stop wasting your mental energy agonizing over money.
Section 6. Thinking outside the box. Getting unconventional results.
When you're navigating life's larger paths, it is so essential to realize that conventional thinking is only ever going to lead to conventional, totally predictable results. For instance, we really need to stop making pros and cons lists. I mean, it's literally an outdated method from the 1700s. We just draw a line down a piece of paper to decide if we should quit a job, start a business, or end a relationship. But it's a binary trap. It forces you into this or that mindset, which completely blinds you to the abundant options that are actually out there. Why do you have to quit your job to start a business? Straight thinking says, hey, you can actually keep your day job for security while simultaneously building your new business on the evenings and weekends.
Let's move to and see how this builds when we look at the bigger picture. If you were standing inside this conventional maze, doing things exactly the way everyone else does them, you're naturally going to walk toward the middle. But look closely at this. The real prize, that actual check mark you're looking for, it isn't in the middle of the expected path. It is entirely outside the box.
This leaves us with a really critical question to consider. Are you trapped in the maze of conventional thinking? You see, you can only spot the real goal if you take a helicopter view of your own life. When you finally stop doing things simply because, well, that's just how it's done, you can actually start doing what genuinely works for you. So I challenge you to step outside the maze, filter out all that useless noise, and start applying this straight thinking today. What is the one useless thought you can choose to let go of right now?